Andy Furman.
Yes, sir.
Both of us are big baseball fans. We love baseball. And Andy and I are both from New York originally.
Correct.
And New York is like a few teams in the Northeast where baseball is king, right, Andy? Baseball is king in New York.
When they win.
Nah, what are you talking about?
Do you think baseball is still king in New York? I don't know.
Easily.
Well, Yankees. Well, perhaps.
Yes.
It's
Come on.
tough. It's a tough call.
It's not a tough call.
Okay, they're king. Oh, you're right.
Baseball at one point, can I give it to you?
Please.
When they opened the two stadiums, New York, they drew 8 million fans between the Mets and Yankees. Just think about that number. And I know there's a new stadium.
There's a city that had 3 teams at one time.
I know.
Yeah.
8 million people went through the turnstile. That's pretty incredible for a city of 8 million people.
No, you're right.
Okay.
You're right.
All right, so here's my point. So for years, you've been hearing the false narrative that baseball was a dinosaur, was the old gray lady, it was a newspaper, it was dying. All the fans at the ballpark were 55-year-old white men still reading the daily newspaper, and the future of baseball was dead. Even though we kept seeing players getting $300 million contracts, the revenue coming in, and now, Andy, there was a new report. And Brandon, it was in Forbes, correct?
Yes, it was. Maury Brown in Forbes.
And Andy, you got to read it.
I
read it. It was eye-popping at the stuff that it talked about and how baseball has endeared itself to advertisers, that some of the things that you look for, like the younger viewer or fan, has made its way to baseball. The streaming numbers are big. And the other thing, too, Andy, that's not really talked about that much in that article is ultimately when gambling becomes nationwide, baseball will be the biggest winner from gambling.
That shocked me because I think it's a tough game to gamble on.
No, see, but it is unless you're gambling as the game goes on. If a guy strikes out.
Oh, I hear
if
what
a guy
you're saying.
gets a hit. If a guy hits a home run.
So you're not gambling on the team as much, the individual.
You see what I'm saying? Like
how many innings a pitcher's going to go or something
exactly.
like that.
Stuff like that, but you have more time to be able to put those bets in. Do you know?
Right.
And I think that is going to enhance it because baseball has more inventory than the other sports.
Right. I'm going to throw
games.
something that really justifies what you just said early on about in New York City, baseball's king. This is in the article in Forbes. New York... In the New York market area, get this, the Mets have a larger audience per game than the Knicks and the Rangers combined.
There you go.
That's amazing. That's an amazing stat.
And that's not even the Yankees. This is the Mets, right? Who have won 3 championships in the history of won 2, right? 69 and 86.
Yeah.
And they have a bigger fan base than the Knicks. In that article as well.
Yeah.
In that article as well, it talked about the Lakers and the Dodgers, who have better ratings, TV ratings in L.A. The Dodgers.
Right. No, you're right. But here's the thing. I think that you cannot convince the general public of this because of, A, TV ratings. Every time you see an All-Star game, the story after the All-Star game is how bad the TV ratings were. And I think the longevity of the season does not help the game. You know, here's the deal. They based on this data that the NFL sees 188.4 million fans. Major League Baseball has 171.1 million fans. But they're going to come back and argue and say, well, yeah, NFL plays 17 games. Look what they draw. And baseball has 162 games. That's what they're going to say. That's what they'll tell you. Because
but the number I look at, see, here's the problem with TV ratings. And it's been fraudulent forever, Andy, okay? If you have, let's go back to the NFL, let's say 16-game season, all these years, right?
Right.
16 games, and if you looked at baseball and did the same numerical numbers as far as viewership, one baseball game isn't equivalent to one football game. One football game is equivalent to 10 baseball games, right?
Correct.
Okay. So when you look at it game for game and go, oh, well, look at the football numbers or whatever. Well, it's of course. You have less to watch. You tell me, Andy Furman, if there were 17 Dodger games, could you get a ticket?
Probably
what would
not.
What would be the
But I'll come back if there were 17 Oakland A games. Can you get a ticket? They'll give you the ticket.
No, I got it. There's some teams, but I'm talking about because I could do the same thing in the NFL. You remember there used to be blackouts.
Right.
And then they couldn't sell all the seats. People don't want to go, Andy. People would rather stay at home. And so they had to drop the blackout because a lot of games would not be on because they couldn't sell the threshold of 80% of the stadium. True
and
and
the key for baseball is this. I still think that baseball is the best bargain in sports as far as the fan is concerned.
Not even close.
You go to a Reds game in Cincinnati for $5. For $5. Really?
And you could get it ain't. I just told you about my NBA experience in paying $500 a ticket. Like there are no. You go to a baseball game, you can get in. Matter of fact, that tickets I didn't use. A friend of mine bought them from me. 4 tickets on the first level at the Nationals, Andy, on Tuesday night against the Red Sox. $25 a ticket. I mean,
right.
You could take a family of 4. That's $100. Can you do that?
No, it's family friendly. I mean, it costs more to park a car going to an NFL game than a ticket for a baseball game.
No doubt about it. And I think that there's a narrative that has been out there that has just painted a picture that really isn't true. And I've always talked about the way to gauge it is not just on the attendance. And I'm going to tell you where baseball and football split and people decided that football was more popular is when the gambling aspect of the fantasy leagues, Andy, took over. Because you remember when the NFL was dropped by CBS and dropped by NBC. Like that was came off of ABC and went to cable when they dropped Monday Night Football from, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like that wasn't because the NFL was doing great. It was because the NFL wasn't doing great. And it's changed because there's a gambling and money aspect that baseball never had. You said
but it's
it earlier.
more than the gambling and the money aspect. What fantasy football does is A, brings people together to follow the sport, and B, educates people that they know the players in the sport, which is not happening in baseball. For example, I'll go to a Cincinnati Bengals game and I'll sit in the stands and I'll hear people rooting for players on the other team. And I'll say, what are you doing? You're in Cincinnati. No, I got them in my fantasy league.
But I get that, and that's the dumb part to me. And fans, I just don't understand it. I've never even watched the Red Zone. You know why? I've never watched the Red Zone. You know why? I want to watch the entire football game.
I agree. Yeah.
Offense, defense. It's not just when a team is inside the 20-yard line. I want to see the whole game. I want to watch a game. Yeah. And so it just doesn't appeal to me, but I get it with the fantasy and fans. All I'm saying to you is baseball has never been healthier. We fantasize about the 50s and Mickey Mantle and the Yankees, and go look at the attendance numbers, Andy. Go look at the revenue. Baseball is an $11 billion industry.
The money is there. I agree with you, but I think
here's the other
what
part
hurts
that baseball,
the demographics hurt baseball.
No, but that article talked about.
I know, and I can't believe it.
That the demographics aren't what people have been preaching about it for so long, that it was a dinosaur and that it was just old guys and the streaming numbers are big. The article again, Andy, let everybody know that you got to go read this article.
It's in Forbes.com by Maury Brown. Maury Brown wrote the article, and really and truly, I'm shocked. I mean, really, it was like a slap in the face because he's saying in the article that there's a younger group between the ages of 13 to 18 that shows Major League Baseball fans start at a very young age. Why? Because they play the game. And I'm thinking we've been taught that they don't play baseball anymore as kids because you can't get that many kids together to play a game. They're playing basketball because you can play 2-on-2.
Right, but the difference is more kids are playing organized. It's not schoolyard or neighborhood baseball like we played, Andy. Are you watching the Little League World Series on television?
No.
I'm just saying.
No, I know.
But there's 1,000 games on.
Yeah,
kids
right.
are playing baseball. The idea that kids don't play baseball is ludicrous if you turn on ESPN. I mean, it's amazing where we are with kids playing baseball. And here's the tweet from Maury Brown, who wrote the story. This tweet said, quote, "The notion that baseball is dying or that its base is 55 and older is false. Fans are built at childhood, and MLB has a higher percentage than the NFL, NBA, and NHL of what they have, in quotes, Andy, forever fans." More of this at the article link. So you got to read this article.
Okay, so let me do this. This is great. This is information I had no idea it was true, and it's wonderful and it's informative. So what does Major League Baseball need to do now to take the next step? Rob Manfred has to get a hold of Maury Brown and have him go to every Major League ballpark and get on either the radio cast or the TV game and talk about it between innings and tell the people and sell baseball and get this mindset that baseball is for old people and graybeards. It's not. I didn't know that. But Rob Manfred has to get a hold of Maury Brown to sell this to the American public.
Well, I think, and you're right, the narrative needs to be sold, but not the game. Andy, the changes in the game, baseball attendance is up 9% to the levels of 1998. We haven't seen these many people go through baseball turnstiles. So the rule changes, Andy. The pitch clock, games are 2 hours and 30 minutes. People don't have time. It's not boring. You're not sitting around.
Right.
The pace of the game is better. There are more stolen bases. No shift. It's not home run or strikeout. There's hitting runs. There's all kinds of other things that are happening. The game and the pace has changed for the better. And we want to hear from you. Are you a part of this resurgence of Major League Baseball? Did you not watch the game, maybe, or stop watching and have taken a renewed interest? And if you're young and listening to The Odd Couple, we want to hear from you and your interest level in Major League Baseball, because this story was eye-opening today.
And I want people that are the younger set, if they're baseball fans, call up and tell us what your age is if you're a baseball fan. I'd like to find that out. Mike in Milwaukee, you're on The Odd Couple. Hello, Michael.
Yeah, I'm a 30-year-old Brewer fan, and I'm not a diehard fan or anything, but I got to say the changes they've made in the last couple of years, bigger bases, banning the shift. I think more traffic on the bases, more action, less downtime is better for the fan experience.
You know what, Mike? I agree. I went to, and Andy knows this, I travel the country in the summer, going to baseball games all over the country. I'll visit 10, 12 different ballparks every summer. And the pace of the game is fun. It just is.
Right. And you talk about more guys on base. I mean, they eliminated the shift, which I think is great. I really do.
I do too, because guys would hit the ball on the button, Andy, and there'll be a third baseman in center field.
There'll be three guys on the left side of the infield. It's crazy. Right. That's the way we used to play softball, though, remember? We did that all the time.
Right, when you
with
had
that short
the
fielder.
extras, the guy playing,
there we go.
Playing right field.
Steve in Idaho, you're on The Odd Couple. How you doing, Stevie?
Hey, guys, I love this subject. I'm 42 years old, been a Mariner fan my whole life, also played professional baseball for a few years. I'm out here in a rural state, and I'll tell you, we got so many kids playing baseball. We can't find enough coaches and enough fields and umpires. It's awesome. They're buying baseball cards again. They want to be like their favorite swaggy players. And I'll tell you, the other thing with the pace of the pace of the game changing, you can stay up and you can watch the game with your kids before they have to go to bed, which is great. I'll tell you, another thing, after what our government overlords did to us in 2020, people haven't forgotten that. And they want to get outside with their kids. They want to be a part of something in the community. I love the changes they've made. Baseball's healthy in Idaho, and I think it's healthier elsewhere as well. Thanks, guys.
Oh, that's a great report from Idaho. You hear that, Andy? They don't even have enough coaches.
We need to thank Brandon Truth, our executive producer, who found the article for us.
Yes.
He found that, so I want to thank him because I had no idea. About this article.
You got to read the article. And we're not just blowing smoke, right, Andy, for Major League Baseball. This is a report, independent. This is not a press release by Major League Baseball.
Right.
It's a report.
Rob Manfred's got to follow up with it. He really does. Justin in Tucson, you're on The Odd Couple. How you doing, Justin?
Hey, I'm great, guys. Thanks for taking my phone call. I'm a 43-year-old lifelong Mets fan. I follow baseball intermittently. I can tell you the time when I fell off watching baseball. It was the '94 strike, and I never came back from it. And I think that was a problem to me, when that strike came, the advent of the NFL in my life happened. And there's two things I think made that happen. Number one, if you've ever been to an NFL game, it feels like an event. It feels like you need to be there. I never got that feeling from the baseball game, and I get it. You know, there's stats, and things go slow, and you want to enjoy the pace of the play and all that. But the other part that I think that really that kept me out from baseball was, and the rise of football, was the dynamic relationship I think that NFL commissioners and the owners have with each other. Things get done. Controversies, sometimes they linger, sometimes they go away. Baseball has never had the ownership, has never had a strong enough commissioner to take care of these things, to pull those fans like myself back. And I'll take the comments off the air. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, I think part of that is that there's a strong players union, and the NFL Players Association, Andy, as you know, is awful. It's just I can't say it any other way. When they don't have significant and sufficient health care for these guys who give their bodies and their lives, you know, put it on the line, and CTE and all that. So that's a big issue. And in baseball, those guys are taken care of. They play the game. They get well compensated, and when they're done playing, Andy, they don't have to work. They're taken care of. I mean,
for
and
life.
That's the way it should be.
And you know, honestly, it's probably the strongest union in America.
Oh, I totally agree.
Yeah,
no
there
doubt.
we go. Tim in Georgia, you're on the Odd Couple. Hello, Timmy.
Hey, boys, how you doing?
Great, Tim.
All right. I'm a 62-year-old white male, and I have loved baseball since I was 8 years old. I've been coaching Little League for the past 5 years, from 6U up to 14U. And, fellas, let me tell you, the boys are playing. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
And the girls.
I love
the girls
it.
are playing, too. That's right.
I love it. I love it. Let me ask you this, too, as a lifelong baseball fan. You know,
Yes,
I was concerned about the changes. I thought, are we making these changes for casual fans or people who don't like baseball? But I got to admit, the pace is fine. It hasn't changed the game or altered the game.
Agree.
Do you enjoy the game still with the quicker pace?
Yes, I like it. I like it. It makes it easier to sit through, and I think it helps the younger people. Because let's face it, fellas, these millennials have no attention span.
Right.
You're right. You're exactly right. And you know why it's working, Tim? Because most of these minor leaguers have had that pitch clock in the minors.
Right,
so coming
for a
to the
few
majors
years now.
Right.
Yep.
So it's not that much of a change for them.
That's right, and it's just like in Little League. You teach them when they're younger, and as they move up to the next level, they're used to seeing things.
And, Tim, I'm going to say thanks for your time and energy with the Little Leaguers, man. That's good stuff. I coached Little League, too, in New York years ago. We got one more or no?
No, I got a question for you. I mean, look,
Okay.
I think it's great, and I'm a baseball guy. You're a baseball guy. There's no doubt about that. However, I still don't see the African-American population going to baseball games. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm crazy. You're in L.A. Are you going to Dodger games? I don't know. Maybe they're there. I don't see them.
I'll tell
I don't
you this.
see them.
Yeah, I can't say that because I've been all over the country. And I lived in Detroit for 20 years, and there are plenty of black baseball fans who go to the game with the history of the Tigers. But, yeah, I mean, that's why, Andy, I started MLBBro.com. You know that. And it is to get the black community back into baseball at a bigger percentage, bigger number. So all good.